Top 7 Best Motherboard for Z690 in 2022. Through extensive research and testing, I have put together the list of options that will meet the need of different types of buyers. So whether it's price, performance, or particular use, we have got you covered. For more information, I have put links of products in the description. Make sure to check it out. Like the video, comment, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get started. Number 7. ASUS Prime Z690A. Sure, Z690 is the flagship chipset for the Alder Lake platform, but there are undoubtedly budget-oriented options in this lineup as well. One of them is the ASUS Prime Z690A, a motherboard that aims to provide the basic features you can expect from the Z690 platform at a reasonable price. It is nothing fancy, but it should be perfect if you want a decent value Z690 motherboard to get your Alder Lake system up and running. One of the areas where you definitely compromise when buying a budget motherboard is the power delivery system. Thankfully, ASUS has not downgraded the VRM design too much and provided a totally acceptable VRM for the price point. The board has a 16+1 phase VRM design with decent cooling that is provided by large heatsinks that are also finned. One should be able to overclock the Core i5-12600K fairly comfortably on this board. However, you should avoid overclocking any Core i5 or Core i5 parts on this board. DDR5 memory is also supported with speeds up to 6000 MHz. Number 6. ASUS ROG Strix Z690i. The market for compact gaming PC has become really popular over the past few years as more and more enthusiasts are jumping ship over to smaller computers. Not only does a small form factor PC save a lot of space on your setup, but it is also easier to carry around from one place to another should you fancy doing so. Consequently, the mini ITX motherboards are becoming better and better as well, and the ASUS ROG Strix Z690i is an example of one of the best mini ITX motherboards around. The Z690i is the answer from ASUS for all the small form factor enthusiasts that want to enjoy the features of the full-size Z690 motherboards in a smaller package. Starting off with the VRM design and power delivery, there's not a lot to complain about here. Obviously, ASUS has downgraded the VRM a little in order to adapt to the size constraints, but the 10+1 phase VRM with 105 amp power stages should not have any major problems overclocking the 12700K or even the 12900K. A sizable fin heatsink also cools the VRM, so temperatures should be reasonable. The Z690i also supports DDR5 memory at up to 6400 MHz speeds, which is a welcome feature as always. Number 5. MSI Pro Z690 Wi-Fi. MSI Pro series of motherboards has been synonymous with value for a while now, and the trend carries on with the MSI Pro Z690 motherboards. There are actually 4 different motherboards under the same name, but all 4 of them are the same PCB differentiated only by the 2 variables of Wi-Fi and DDR generation. In this particular roundup, we recommend the MSI Pro Z690 DDR5 Wi-Fi motherboard as it still offers a great price to performance ratio despite having a higher price than the DDR4 and non-Wi-Fi variants. When we talk about value-oriented motherboards, we have to be reasonable with our expectations when it comes to power delivery and VRM design. The MSI Pro Z690 motherboard packs a decent 8+4 phase VRM that will be great for most regular users buying a motherboard in this price bracket. The VRM should be able to handle a Core i5-12600K at its highest overclock, but it should also be able to handle some light overclocking on its Core i5 brother. We wouldn't recommend putting a Core i5 part in this Z690 motherboard as those CPU need a lot of clean, stable power when they are operating even under stock conditions, so that is one pairing we would advise against. Number 4. ASUS ROG Strix Z690A. Since the Maximus series is not something that everyone can or should buy, ASUS has also released several mid-range and entry-level motherboards on the Z690 platform. The ASUS ROG Strix Z690 is one of the more mid-range boards that also has lots of great features and a pretty decent VRM design. The standard ROG series also comes with a choice among DDR5 and DDR4 memory configurations, so be sure to purchase the board that supports the specific memory type that you plan to run. The power delivery system of the ASUS ROG Strix Z690 is certainly not on the same level as the ones mentioned before, but that does not mean that it is bad by any stretch. ASUS has packed a 16 plus 1 phase VRM for the Z690A, which is pretty decent by modern standards. This VRM should be capable of overclocking an ASUS 12700K comfortably, while it should also be able to achieve some degree of overclocking on the ANI 12900K. The VRM cooling is also adequate as ASUS has provided quite large VRM heatsinks with diagonal fins to maximize heat dissipation. Number 3. MSI G690 Carbon Wi-Fi. MSI made some excellent boards over the past few years, especially for the AMD chipsets, but they have not exactly ignored Intel either. MSI MPG series, which stands for MSI Performance Gaming, packs some of the most overbuilt and premium motherboards out there for any chipset, be it Intel or AMD. Continuing this trend for the new Alder Lake platform, we have the MSI G690 Carbon Wi-Fi, a fantastic high-end motherboard on the Z690 platform that is quite possibly the best overclocking Z690 motherboard on our list. It certainly rivals our two top picks in terms of VRM design and features. Speaking of the power delivery, MSI has hit the nail on the head with an 18 plus 1 plus 1 phase VRM design with 75 power stages, which is excellent for overclocking pretty much any modern CPU you can put in it. Particularly, the Core ANI 12900K would be a great match for this 690 motherboard since you can completely max out the overclock on the flagship Alder Lake CPU without taxing the VRM too much. The board supports DDR5 memory up to a whopping 6,666 MHz, which sounds really fast by today's standards, but time will tell if speeds like this are normalized. Number 2. Gigabyte Z690 AORUS Master. Gigabyte's high-end AORUS motherboards recently have been absolutely fantastic for both platforms, so it is no surprise that the Gigabyte Z690 AORUS Master ends up as our pick for the best high-end Z690 motherboard. It has an excellent power delivery system that is almost a necessity for the new Alder Lake CPU, but it also has an excellent feature set that is comparable with some of the most expensive Z690 motherboards out there. The AORUS Master itself isn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but its pricing is not outrageous in view of what it brings to the table. Starting off with the highlight of this board, the extremely overbuilt VRM. It consists of a staggering 22 phases, out of which 19 supply the CPU with 105 of power. This is an insane VRM setup that will almost never be completely utilized, even by a fully overclocked 12900K running 24/7. The VRM heatsinks are also quite sizable, so the board should have no problems dissipating the heat that is coming out of those VRM. As far as looks are concerned, the AORUS Master is certainly one of the most over-the-top boards out there. The I/O cover has a large RGB AORUS logo and some lighting accents which look cool, and a similar style continues down to the chipset heatsink, which has a glitched AORUS logo. This modern design language seems to be rampant in the Z690 motherboards. Speaking of the heatsink, the chipset heatsink sort of extends over the entire bottom half of the PCB and serves as the heatsink for the M2 drives as well. This is a very ingenious implementation. Number 1. ASUS ROG Maximus 690 Hero. Any enthusiast-grade motherboard tier list would be incomplete without mentioning the ROG Maximus series from ASUS. This is the high-end motherboard category from ASUS that falls under the ROG banner, and for the 690 versions, ASUS has done away with confusing Roman numerals. Instead, they opted for the name of the chipset in the name of the product. What an ingenious thought. Still, the ROG Maximus 690 lineup of boards is among the best you will ever find on this chipset, and the Hero variant is the one we are particularly interested in. In fact, we would recommend the Maximus 690 Hero for any potential buyers of the Core ANI 12900K and the 12900KF, since those CPU have lots of overclocking potential that can be achieved using this fantastic 690 motherboard. The VRM is also cooled effectively by large heatsinks, so temperatures should be perfectly sound. The board also supports DDR5 memory at up to 6,400 MHz speeds, but time will tell if investing in DDR5 right now is a good idea. So guys, that's all for the top 7 best motherboard for 690 in 2022. The links of all products are given in the description, which are updated for the best prices. Subscribe our channel for more videos. We will meet in next video. Till then, take care, bye.